But anyway, Wan Shi Tong, who knows 10,000 things, is in league with Unalak. And as some people have pointed out online, Wan Shi Tong has a lot of resemblance to Desna and Eska. I'm just saying.
Guys, remember when Amon was a robot?
I'd actually forgotten about that. You are listening to the Vassals of Kingsgrave Korra edition for episode 10 of season 2. What is it?
A new spiritual age.
A new spiritual age. Thank you, Mihal.
You're welcome.
As ever, this is Katie.
This is Michal.
This is Stephanie.
And this is Lee.
And Lee, as our guest, would you like to share your lemon cakes for this episode?
I would be honored. My lemon cake rating for this episode was, 4.75. It was awesome. No, 5. Why not? It was great. I can't remember a flaw.
Mihal.
Yeah, I think I would be around a 4.5. It was really, really good. I was really on the edge of my seat for a lot of it, and I thought the spirit world was amazingly weird in a really great way. I thought a lot of the decisions they made were wonderful, and yeah, I think there's a lot to discuss here, which now that I think of how much we actually do have to talk about, it shocks me at how little we've actually really had to talk about for the past 10 weeks.
Stephanie.
I think I'll give it a 4.5. Really good. I think it dragged a little in the beginning, but it certainly found its footing in the middle of the episode.
And I'll round it off. I'll give it a solid 4.5 as well. Guys, this was a pretty freaking awesome episode. And for the first time in a long time, well, okay, just take beginnings out of the equation, but this is the first time in a long time where I've been having physical reactions to what I'm watching, as in I'm gasping and I'm heckling the screen. And so, yeah, I just hope that we keep climbing the slope as we head towards the finale. And apparently this week and next week we're going to have 1-hour specials both, so...
That's so exciting.
I'm not holding my breath for the later finale because we have to come back to the Republic City plot at some point, so...
Let's just pretend we never have.
We never have to go back to Republic City.
I'm happy to go back to Republic City, but not to the cruise plot.
It's so pathetic that Korra and Jinora make a better team than Mako, Bolin, and Asami.
I actively wrecked that, though, because if you had told me that, like, even before last week's episode, I don't know. I mean, I might have preferred the Korra and Jinora stuff, but not at the active expense of the Mako, Bolin, and Asami stuff. But the way it handled it in the past episode just was such an explosion. I'm just going to repeat everything I said in the last week's episode if I keep continuing. So, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
so apparently next week we're getting back to Republic City and the fallout of Mako getting arrested, but who gives a shit? We're talking about Korra and Jinora this episode. What actually matters? Plot.
Exactly.
High stakes, and things are actually happening. I said last week I don't give a shit about Jinora, and even though I'm still really resisting her as a character, I appreciated that she was totally getting shit done this week and was a great compliment to Korra on their little adventure together.
Was getting stuff done. It was awesome.
This week smashed the Bechdel test out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I kind of felt a little bad for Korra because I feel like she's been so off the ball this entire season and doing so much wrong that to see her once again being set aside while somebody else actually does something right is a little irritating. But I did like her little journey this episode.
I felt a little weird about it. I was like, when she first turned into a little kid, I was a little bit, before she turned into a little kid, I was a little like, oh no, is this going to be another thing where Korra's a lesson because she's wrong all the time, which has been something I haven't loved about this season. But I thought the whole like bringing her back to being a little kid thing was good because it's almost like I can't imagine that Korra has ever actually felt that. It's rare for her to feel helpless or like a kid because even as a kid she was so powerful.
Yeah, I thought it was a great decision. I thought that it really let us... Well, first of all, it was a great expression of how helpless and scared and unprepared for the spirit world she actually felt. You know, before like you dive deep end, it's really easy to say like, oh, well, it's the same as swimming in the shallow, but it's not. And I think that was a lot what Korra experienced. And I think it also let us have that side of her without getting annoyed because it was like, this is a valid element of her personality that we don't necessarily have to directly associate with the grown-up Korra that we know. So to see her whining and shivering and whatever, I mean, it's like I said, it's valid, but since they did it in child form, it was a lot more palatable.
Right.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I love that this episode is so much, I mean, it's a blend of Eastern mythology as well, but like so much Alice in Wonderland visuals and ideas that are being mixed in there from when she falls down the rabbit hole and she goes to the tea party. But just that beautiful shot when she's in the woods and she's seeing all these scary as shit spirits, and as she spins around and you're seeing all the monsters as she does, and the camera finally floats back onto her, she's a child, it took my breath away. I was like, this is what I wanted the spirit world to be. I wanted it to be just psychotic and surreal, and you can't really get a grip on it, and it changes you in a way that's disturbing. So I was fully on board with the madness of this episode. This is everything I really was hoping for, and I thought we were not going to get because of how pedantic the spirit stuff was at the beginning of the season. So kudos to Studio Mir for bringing us home.
It's pretty unreal what a difference it makes when it's Studio Mir.
Oh, totally. But Korra, from the very first moment you see her, there's actual body language. You notice right off when those meerkat creatures are talking to her. They're so expressive in how they move their brows around. It was delectable. It was delicious. But Korra, she gets turned into a child. And then, I don't know what y'all's reaction is, but when a certain someone materialized from the darkness carrying a lantern, I screamed out loud, and I don't think I stopped screaming until the commercial break.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I did exactly, but my brother was in the basement, and he was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Korra, shut up!"
Yeah, that was pretty fantastic. I'm always a little sad hearing him talk because I miss the original voice actor so much, but it was pretty unreal.
Was anyone worried for a split second that it was going to be like a dark spirit?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was very relieved when all the spirits turned dark that he didn't he didn't change.
I have to imagine that when they sat around and they were storyboarding or writing out this episode, they're like, who can be Korra's guide? Who is the best mentor that they ever had in their universe? And it's Uncle Iroh, who radiates kindness and understanding and a warm philosophy about life. And it's like every time he opened his mouth, it's like being wrapped in a warm blanket. It's gonna be okay. So, I mean, I thought it was a great decision. And apparently, he never died. He just left his body and decided to chill out in the spirit world. But, Mihal, you said that you had some kind of rant about fan service.
Well, I saw some people on the forum were talking about how it was fan servicey and it wasn't whatever. And first of all, the amount of fan service that we've had in Korra in relation to Avatar: The Last Airbender has been so minimal that if they're going to pull something like this now, that's beyond fine by me, even if it was pure fan service. But it wasn't. Like you said, Katie, Iroh perfectly fits the role. We know from before that he's super, super in touch with the spirits. It wasn't like, oh, how's my grandson and blah blah blah. It was about Korra. The scene was about Korra and her journey. Iroh was there to help her along because he was the best person to do it. And I didn't at all feel like it was pandering. Obviously, you wouldn't have the emotional response if you hadn't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I think you'd still get that this guy was an important figure and somebody you could trust. And yeah, so this is the opposite of fan service to me. Or if it's fan service, it's the best incarnation of it that could possibly exist.
It's the equivalent of Aang showing up at the end of Endgame. Say what you will about giving Korra her bending back or whatever, it's something that is perfectly in tune with what is going on and the characters and the emotions, and they do it to make the fans feel good and give them a nostalgia cookie, but it's something that it has to be there for the plot to move forward. It has to be there for the plot to make sense. So I agree with you, but you were going to say, Lee?
Oh, yeah, exactly that. I don't ever quite get the problem with fan service. Like, I mean, excessive show wrecking fan service is one thing, but like generally being nice to the people who like devote themselves to your artwork is a good thing in my opinion. I'm just saying, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was perfect. I thought it made perfect sense. And I didn't think it was just fan service, but even if it was, I wouldn't have minded.
Yeah, I think I would have minded it if it was just fan service because I'm the one that's like, I don't want to retread.
Right.
But no, I think this works. I am always a little suspicious of them bringing in some other character from the original series, but the references here were great. I mean, like, of course, Jinora is the one to think, oh, let's go to the spirit library, since Wan Shitong took his library back to the spiritual realm. And then, of course, we're going to see Professor Zay's skeleton, which was great.
Oh my god.
Because I just always imagined
Yeah.
him as, you
Yeah.
know, like that famous Twilight Zone. It's like, at least I have my books.
Yeah, I was having a chat with Death Sheep literally like 15 minutes before the episode started. He's like, I hope that we get to find out what happened to that archaeologist guy. And so when when it pans over to his desiccated corpse, I burst out laughing.
Yeah.
That is so perfect.
And I really didn't think when Wan Chitong was like, is he still here? I was like, oh, he's going to be this weird, doddering, spirit-supported thing. And then it's, no, Wan Chitong is literally just keeping his corpse there because he wants to. And I feel like you could see him gloating over it every so often, like, humans, this is where you all end up.
Yeah.
People have noticed that his hair is still black, and so he did not die of old age. He probably starved to death.
Yeah.
Which, it also makes me wonder why those foxes don't eat his corpse, but whatever.
They're spirit foxes?
Yeah.
Maybe they only eat spirit corpses.
Oh boy. I like the spirit foxes. I thought they were really funny in this episode.
Yeah, they're sweet and they're always helpful. I don't quite get why they work for Wang Shitong because he's such a jackass.
Way bigger.
Is he?
He's way bigger than they are.
No, I guess that is the reason because they helped Sokka steal the map. But yeah, I really enjoyed the whole library thing. Like it didn't feel like a retread, though I'm not as opposed to that as Stephanie. But it just felt fun. It was a good callback.
Yeah, and I thought Wan Shitong's character was a really natural extension of what we'd seen before. And I'm sorry, the whole speech about little men in the boxes was delivered so well.
Of course, there's a little man who sings and plays instruments.
Because also, when we were children, who didn't at one point or other ask your parents where the people in the TV lived, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently,
Jinora just laying down the physics knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It was also nice to know, like, I know they have all this technology, but since we mostly just see the results, I found it kind of satisfying to know that they actually understand stuff, too, which is dumb. I don't know, I'm a dork. I thought it was great hearing her talk about electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate, break no physics, because according to Out of the Past, they do not know physics.
What happened in Out of the Past?
Oh, basically the box that Tarlaw kept Korra in would be a Faraday cage.
Oh, I remember that. But anyway, Wan Shitong, he who knows 10,000 things, is in league with Unalaq. And, as some people have pointed out online, Wan Shitong has a lot of resemblance to Desna and Eska. So maybe Wan Shitong is Unalaq. This is the theory that came across my dash this morning.
Wan Shitong
what?
How does he look like them? He's an owl.
Because Desna and Eska have long flowing sleeves that are like wings, and they kind of slouch like an owl.
Oh, bloody hell.
And they have these hacking, dying bird laughter that's a lot like an owl choking on a dead rat or a mouse or something. And since Wan Shitong is so close to Unalaq, and they've been close friends apparently for a while, I'm just saying.
Guys, remember when Amon was a robot?
I'd actually forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Oh man. I actually got the impression that it was fairly recent. Their little
Trice.
Not the word I would have used, but yes, sure.
Yeah, I thought that Wang Shitong was just being a jerk. I don't know why do people think they're long friends?
I don't know. From what I understand, and this kind of goes along with what the Meerkats were saying earlier in the episode, it seems like they are invested in opening up the portals, reuniting the spiritual and material world so that they're not stuck in the spirit world, that they would like to be able to move freely between the two. They don't like being segregated. Wan put them away.
That makes sense.
I even think it goes even farther, at least for Wan Shitong. I think he has no use for humans whatsoever. I think he just wants all the humans gone.
Well, he hates the Avatar. He puts that emphasis on the word several times. I mean, as soon as Jinora used that card, she was screwed.
Yeah. But can we talk about how brave she was?
Yes.
I thought this was a really great
Yeah.
experience for her because, first of all, it was really interesting to see her be the one in control in the spirit world, even though Korra is so much older. And obviously, in the physical world, in almost any scenario, it would have been the opposite. But I really liked that it was clearly her area to shine. And even though, like, there's a big, humongous, scary owl and Professor Zay's terrifying corpse there, and, like, spirit foxes, she's just like, nope, I need to find something out, and I'm gonna look for it. And yeah. And I like that she kept her focus also. She wasn't going Zay and being like, oh, all the knowledge.
So, I think the worst part of this episode, though, in regards to Jinora, other than her almost getting her soul destroyed.
Yeah, that was intense.
Jesus Christ, what is up with that?
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, they'll die, or oh, you'll be stuck here forever or something. It's like, no, I'm gonna destroy your soul.
Like the
That's some,
Dementor's
like,
kiss.
Yeah, it's like some Dementor stuff there. I don't know.
Well, I guess the way I saw it, I was actually shocked that they used the word soul, but the way I saw it was kind of like a reverse spirit bending, what Unalaq was doing. A dark version of whatever it is he uses to go poof to the other spirits.
I was very worried about Korra for a minute. I thought that was going to be how the episode ended, was her going full purple and then her eyes roll back or something. Did anyone think that her arm got blown off when he
Yes.
when he hit her with
No.
the water? It looked like it for a minute that her arm was just going to completely fall off. I mean, not that it matters, she's just astral projecting, but it was shocking. I think I gasped.
I thought it was gonna happen something like the Matrix. So like if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life.
I guess you'd just be like a vegetable or something.
Yeah.
Speaking of vegetables,
Yeah, is that what's up with
Scary.
Jinora?
she's just locked in her body, yeah. I mean, she can't wake up.
That line though.
Probably the most disturbing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing Korra's reaction but even more Tenzin's reaction, that was, I honestly, I feel like J.K. Simmons has been reeling it in a little bit this season. He has this line, it's like the first line of the episode, like, I can't believe my little girl is, and it's like the emphasis is really weird, but I thought he was great in that last scene, and it was really, really moving and scary, and I have no idea where it's going.
His expression when he first realizes that Jinora hasn't woken up is so gut-wrenching, and I had a visceral reaction just to that expression. It was, like you said, Mel, it was disturbing and upsetting, and you know he's going to be blaming himself for it.
Yeah, it was really intense. So I will say, like, the part of me that forgets it's a kid's show was like, Korra, what are you doing? The fate of all living creatures is in your hands right now. Don't open the portal.
I did have that thought too.
No, I mean, it's an impossible choice. Hero's dilemma. It's just a little, sometimes it's a little like, please, 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 just make the hard choice.
Yeah, but I guess technically she still has, I mean, it's not like, oh, Vaatu is now taking over the world. It's like now Vaatu can get out of the thing after harmonic conversion. Yeah. So it's not as much of a like save your friend or destroy the world. It's save your friend and make saving the world a hell of a lot harder.
Fair enough.
Unalaq, he's still really opaque at this point about what he's going for, but I think he's crossed the boundary of no return. I don't think he's going to get a redeeming flashback a la Tarlok.
I hope so.
I don't think he is. I don't think we're going to get any redeeming factors about him. I just think he's beyond that point.
Yeah, I agree. This is silly. I kind of feel like for me, the line where I was definitely sure he was not getting redeemed was when he was calling out Tenzin to his 10-year-old daughter. That was just so, like, such unnecessary villain behavior. Like, the moment where you as a person are verbally abusing a 10-year-old who you have in your power, regardless, I feel like that's a pretty low moment. I don't know if you can come back from that.
But I actually loved how, like, that was exquisitely hypocritical, given what happened in the last episode with Desna, and he's like, nah, leave him. I really kind of like how bonkers he is, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And he wants that dark avatar, man. He wants it in him. I mean, he wants to be the dark avatar and be possessed by Vaatu. That is what I meant to say. Don't put this on me. You guys were the ones making jokes in the beginning.
I feel like your phrasing was perfect. I think you said exactly what you meant to say.
I really like also how Vaatu calls her Rava, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Harmonic convergence.
So good. Did anyone think it was adorable the way Korra shouted, "My teapot!"
Mm-hmm. Yes!
Yeah.
I'm really glad that Iroh said you can taste a little bit of light in the teapot instead of you can taste a little bit of Rava still stuck in there.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was like, where's this going? But it was pretty beautiful.
Oh, what else happened this episode?
I don't know. A lot of it was just visually really stunning.
You know what was amazing? When they were in the water and then Korra started freaking out and Jinora was just all like blasé about it. Wow, it's just perfect for the characters.
Yeah, I think Amin brought it up on the forum, like, why couldn't they just hop back into their bodies when they were in danger? And I have no evidence for this, but I sort of think that you can't leave the spirit world until the spirit world is ready for you to leave. Like, it doesn't seem like the type of thing where they could just be like, up, in and out, because getting there is difficult.
Yeah, I think in this part they didn't have, like when Aang goes into the spirit world, usually he can find his own body there in the spot where he left it. So like he's like astral projecting, but he's still in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So like, guess they weren't,
Yeah.
their bodies weren't on that plane.
What would happen if they went through the portal?
I guess it would have been the same situation as Unilock, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. He went through the portal, so it's mind and body.
Wait,
He's there.
I mean, what if they went backwards through the portal? What if they left through the portal?
Like, spiritually?
Ooh, they'd have another body floating around there.
Yeah.
Their original bodies would be there in that pavilion meditating, and then like they'd come out with another body, or like
No.
with a second copy of their body.
I was gonna say, doesn't that happen in the first season of Avatar, where Aang comes out of the spirit world at some point, and he's like, "Where's my body?" I feel like they'd come out of the portal and then just be snatched back to where they are physically. I don't think it really.
Yeah, he like teleped to his body, but at the same time, in like during like the winter solstice, he's just like looking for his body, and then he can't really find it, so he has to find it himself.
I feel like
Or no, Roku finds it for him.
I feel like they would be like spirits in the physical world. Yeah, I try not to think too much about the exact physics of it because I don't.
Yeah, just Avatar metaphysics. It's just leave it alone.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with it not making perfect sense. Did you guys notice that Iroh was wearing Earth Kingdom robes?
Huh, you're right, he was.
I mean, we know that he stuck around in his tea shop.
Yeah. But I just think that's so beautiful that like he kind of spiritually found peace in the nation that he had attacked.
Death Sheep and I were talking about how surreal it would have been if instead of Iroh, it had been his son that had approached Korra. Of course, Liu Ten never had any relation to Aang or any of the avatars, but like this character that we only saw once as a child in flashbacks, and suddenly, I don't know, I mean, I think what we're being told is that when people die, they don't go to the spirit world. It's just you have to have a strong spiritual connection, and then you can migrate there if you choose. And so Iroh is kind of an exception rather than the rule, but still, I'm still holding on to seeing some dead people at some point.
Sokka of all people goes there.
I was thinking, oh my god, knowing Sokka, it would be like, yeah, I was in like the after place and I was looking for a bathroom and I wound up in this. But I don't know. I feel like Iroh is even in Avatar, we were all kind of like okay with the idea that Iroh might die at a certain point, but the mortality of the kid characters is still very difficult for me to think about. So even like obviously seeing Spirit Aang, like kind of grown to like that, but the others, I don't know. I don't know.
So what about Jet then?
You know, I'm not a huge Jet fan.
He was still, I mean, he was like 16, 17. It's pretty young.
Yeah.
It was still shocking when it happened.
Yeah. Oh, it was definitely shocking.
Yeah, it was.
Do you think Janora's gonna die?
No.
She's too young.
Yeah, according to Matt Patches on Republic City Dispatch, she's gonna die. That's his theory. That she's gonna stay in the spirit world.
Yeah, but Republic City Dispatch thinks that everybody's gonna die. So.
Based on what evidence?
Them just wanting somebody to die.
I mean, people were convinced that Bolin was going to die last season, and he didn't.
Do they think they're watching, like, Game of Thrones?
No, it was a thing on, they had this interactive website when season 1 was coming out called Welcome to Republic City. It was just basically, like, flesh out some more world-building details without having it in the show. And in Bolin's description, it said neither one of them, like they're talking about the brothers, neither one of them would think twice about sacrificing their life for the other.
Oh.
I think people just wanted the show to be darker than it actually is, and I think when the show turns out to not be as dark as we want it to be, we're always a little disappointed.
This was way darker than I expected, though. I mean, if you'd asked me at the beginning of the episode, what do you think's gonna happen to Korra and Jinora? I would be like, well, they'll probably have some hijinks, and then they'll get out of the spirit world. Like, it didn't occur to me that something could go seriously wrong in that plan and stay seriously wrong.
Right.
Which maybe is mean and creative, but I still think that what happened to Jinora is shocking.
So, if Korra... Okay, here's what I think they set up. She can't project back into the spirit world for two reasons. One, because her guide, Janora, is not there to help her link over. And two, we get that line from Unalaq, if you had come through the portal, you would have been able to do this, be able to bend. And so I think she is going to either head back to the South Pole or head up to the North Pole and go through one of the portals. I think that's what they set it up for. In which case, she would have to swing by Republic City.
That makes sense.
Is she gonna recruit the crew to just come fight with her? That'd be cool. I'd watch that, but
why would she recruit them? They're not her friends.
Oh, right.
Betrayer.
She can just, why don't she just drive through on like a boat and she'll just be like, yo, get in the back, bitches. And then they won't be allowed to speak.
I need your bending, not your voice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love how the fandom has, within the span of 2 episodes, completely turned back to Korra and then fuck those other people.
We were driven to it.
It's true.
It's within the realm of possibility that I one day don't hate all of her friends.
Oh, totally. All it takes is like 1 episode for me to completely soften back to them. I'm easily manipulated. There we go.
Yeah.
So next week we have an hour, and then the week after we have the finale. And then we'll be done again for a whole another year.
At least. Do you guys want to hear the summaries for the upcoming episodes?
No, thank you.
No.
Okay, never mind.
Mihal, you can tell me them after we end the call.
Okay. It's so funny. I feel like we should have more to talk about, but what a lot of the stuff was more experiential than
bloody.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, that's fine.
Like it felt so much longer. Every time I looked over at the clock, I was shocked how much time there was left, even though it felt like so much was happening. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Did you guys like the Phoenix thingy?
Oh, I loved it. It was so beautiful.
Yes.
Especially that cut with Korra and then Big Korra.
It felt very Harry Potter-y too, like with the soul stuff and the Phoenix. I don't have a lot of like knowledge about like anime stuff, so the Alice in Wonderland reference and the Harry Potter stuff was sort of nice for me too. A little more in my wheelhouse.
It reminded me of Pokemon 2000.
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
When Ash rides on the Lugia and saves the world for the 10th time and gets no credit for it. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I think I might have clapped when it knocked the shit out of Unalaq because he had it coming.
Spirit World Tango.
Well, it was a really good episode, even if there's not a lot to say about it.
But it was okay, something that maybe, I don't know what you guys think about, but Katie, you said on the forum, and I totally agree with you, where was this episode 5 weeks ago? Yeah. I'm just wondering how they could have structured the season. I mean, it's called Spirits, for God's sake, and like, this is, I guess Beginnings was really the first spirit-y stuff that we got, but what could they have done to make it about this instead of about all of that other stuff?
I think Republic City Dispatch hit the nail on the head when it feels like realistically they bit off more than they could chew for the amount of episodes that they had. They wanted to tell this family drama. They wanted to do this civil war in the South. They wanted to have the movies and Bolin as a movie star, and they wanted to have Varric. And none of it feels like, that's fine that they're ambitious, but none of this feels cohesive at all to what the season is really about, which is spirit. And I don't need to have my expectations met when I go into a season. I like being surprised. But if you had asked me what I wanted at the beginning, it would have been, I want some surreal, trippy spirit stuff. And we really didn't get that for most of the season. And now that we're getting it, it feels so tangential to everything that's happened before that it's like too many cooks in the kitchen almost. They had a writer's room and 5 people came up with 5 different plots and they tried their best to weave them together. And it just seems like none of them match, or none of them match the way they should. And I did mention this too on the forums, where it's like the characters aren't dealing with the problems that make the most sense. Like the fact that Mako has been the one who is running up against Varric, even though Varric has a much deeper personal connection with Bolin and Asami, and he's tied to them in a much deeper way. And Unalaq, like, as much time as he and Korra spend butting heads, they don't have a personal relationship. I mean, at least with Tarlok and Korra, it was a rivalry. They started out as vague allies, but there was kind of an ego thing going. Like, it made sense. You understood that there was a general dislike. It doesn't feel like Korra and Unalaq have much going, because Unalaq's primary antagonism was with his brother. It frustrates me a little when it's like they're pairing up these character conflicts with what they want them to be, rather than what makes the most sense for them to be.
Yeah, and I feel like they're also losing track of some of the threads. I'd honestly like borderline forgotten that he it was such a big deal, and they were doing all this stuff about the brother stuff, but it's not like we knew her dad or cared about her dad. And then it all disappeared, so I'm sort of like, right, she has to go stop the bad guy. And like they've done nothing with the fact that like the bad guy's family. Like there's so many, it's both too crammed with stuff, and they're not taking advantage of things that they should. They're sort of, yeah, they're making choices that seem really just choices that seem really odd, like very structured by the writer's room, not natural.
Right. I will never forgive the addition of Tonrak because, in addition to being boring, that plot serves no purpose whatsoever. That whole backstory about him being banished from the Northern Tribe, it did nothing for the plot of the season. It's like, I guess you could say it was a character moment with Korra learning to forgive and get closer to her father, but no, that's completely out the window, and her dad is a boring character. Tonrak is the most boring character of this entire show, and we wasted episodes on him.
He's Thoring.
Thoring.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I hope season 3 is better.
Oh my god.
Well, apparently
Yeah,
Lin will be
so-
heavily featured in season 3 and 4, so
Which
that makes
Lin?
all the difference to me. Lin Beifong.
No, the Lin that makes logical conclusions, or the Lin that's like, oh, let me do this thing and not that thing and whatever. I know you, but I don't care. You're probably a criminal anyway.
Oh, now that you mentioned that, I don't know. And I'm scared.
I mean, God, like, as much as I love Lin, I almost would have rather seen, like, Saikon or whatever in there, so we could at least have somebody who would be like, this is stupid, but at least they're, like, a stupid character. Lin
We
is
expected
so
no Saikon.
smart and quick and such a good police person that it's so, like, I feel like to go into next season, I'm gonna have to just mentally disqualify a lot of these things from my head, and I hate when I have to do that.
Right. At least, like, with season 1, yeah, season 1 had its problems, but it was coming from two people. It was coming from Mike and Brian doing all the writing, and it was a cohesive vision. There was a consistency to those 12 episodes that we don't have at all this season. And I mean, Avatar The Last Airbender had freedom to be inconsistent because they'd had filler episodes, and it had so many episodes. With Korra, they don't have that liberty, and so when suddenly they have Brian taken out of the equation, it's Mike and a dozen other people, I can't even guess what their writing process is like, but it just feels, again, like too many cooks in the kitchen, and we're getting something wildly inconsistent and even visually inconsistent. I'm not talking just about Studio Perot and Studio Mir. When I think about what season 1 looked like, it was dark and brooding and noirish, and the palette matched every episode. And in this season, we go from the South Pole, which had its own look, and then we went back to Republic City, and everything, when Perot was animated, just looked drab and terrible. And then we're in the spirit world, and it's completely different. It just feels like we're all over the page. And this has been your weekly corner of hate, brought to you by VOK.
Consistency's definitely been the main issue. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
If we want to end on a positive note, I have a quote that I think is worth mentioning. If I can
Yeah.
find it, because I tweeted it. Go into my Twitter. Okay. Just because when you have Iroh, he is by definition going to drop some beautiful piece of wisdom that I just want to repeat, which is that if you look for the light, you can often find it, but if you look for the dark, it is all you will ever see.
That quote inspired me to take a
quote.
shower.
What?
Big Katie.
And with that,
Wow.
I think we'll end.
I don't understand.
The rest is silence.
The rest is silence.
So here's the link. Basically, Night of a Thousand Stars is Bolin saves the day when President Raiko is attacked, and Harmonic Convergence is Korra and company try to close the spirit portals before the Harmonic Convergence. And Korra and company. That's interesting. Darkness Falls is Korra discovers a new twist in Unalaq's evil plan. Tenzin realizes that he must face his own demons. And A Light in the Dark is Korra discovers a way that she may be able to defeat the ultimate dark spirit and save the world.
Huh. Well, all except that Bolin one sound interesting.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the Night of a Thousand Stars isn't a double entendre for movie stars. Like,
Oh my god.
that's what I immediately thought. Is like, it's on the one hand, it's going to be something dramatic having to do with Korra and the lights in the sky going dark, and then it's going to be like they're going to flip back to Bolin and he's going to be in a movie premiere. Night of a Thousand Stars.
You know what? If they do it ironically, I can handle that. But
Oh.
Why did it make you take a shower?
Okay, so I don't know. I like that quote. And at the time I was watching the episode, I was just living in filth. Like, in my bathrobe, my room was nasty, the house just was kind of a disaster. And I was like, man, I don't feel good right now. I bet I'd feel a lot better if I lightened up my environment and exuded positivity. And so I cleaned, and I took a shower, and I felt much better.
I think that's beautiful.
Hygiene is a wonderful thing.
I thought you meant, like, it was so saccharine that you just needed to take a shower.
Well, if you want to be pessimistic, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been better in, like, actual Mako's voice, but, you know.
Ugh.
Yeah, I really don't like it. I mean, I guess, like, no offense to him, because, like, what's he gonna do? He's not Mako, but, like, he just sounds, like, kind of slow and not, like, intelligent, you know?
Mako?
No, I mean, Mako, the voice actor for Iroh. Like,
Oh, right.
the replacement voice actor is not so good.
Yeah, one of his line deliveries was like, Korra, what's wrong? It's like, dude.